I just want to add that the Congresswoman-elect does identify as a woman. I will be.
She's not a woman. It's a man. She was born a man. She's a man. She's biologically a male. That is science.
That was Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who has been going on transphobic tirades against a woman who just got elected, Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride. And that was during an interview with Scripps News today, by the way. So McBride recently won her bid to represent Delaware against her Republican opponent, John Whalen. And as a result, she will be the first openly transgender person to be elected to a congressional seat. Now, here she is speaking about her win on Election Day or after Election Day.
How are you feeling today?
Well, I am feeling filled with gratitude. I'm filled with gratitude to all of the Delawareans who turned out and voted yesterday and in the days preceding, regardless of how they voted. And I'm feeling grateful to have this opportunity to serve the state I love in the United States House of Representatives. I think this win is a testament to Delawareans that here in our state of neighbors, we are judging candidates based on their ideas and not their identities.
On a personal level, what does this mean to you?
Well, I know how much this win would have meant to me as a young person, as I faced a crisis of hope and wondered whether the heart of this nation was big enough to love me too. And I hope this win sends a message to young people across the country that our democracy is big enough for them too.
So Nancy Mace decided to exploit McBride's identity to carry out some of the grossest political stunts I've seen in recent days. Okay, so she introduced a resolution to prevent trans women from using the women's restroom on Capitol grounds. Can we just bring up that interview again as B-roll? Because I just want you guys to look at Congresswoman-elect McBride and tell me how it makes sense for her to go into the men's restroom when she needs to go to the restroom. How does that make any sense? And why are we talking about this still? Maybe if you're male and you don't know what the women's bathroom is like, we don't have urinals there. Okay, no one's whipping out anything when we're in stalls. What is the problem? What is the problem with letting people use the restroom they identify with? This issue just boggles my mind, John, because look, I think there are some issues, and I've talked about it on the show, much to my own detriment, because people will paint you as a transphobe when you're I don't know, maybe there's some issues where the rights of women conflicts with the rights of transgender people. How can we balance both where both people are feeling heard, right? But this isn't one of those issues. I don't think any woman is genuinely concerned that there's going to be a problem with a transgender woman using the restroom they identify with. But what do you think, John?
Well, I think any reasonable person would also be utterly bewildered by Nancy Mace's grotesque, opportunistic, performative obsession with this. That's true. But anybody who's been paying attention to American politics understands exactly why she's doing this. Now, it might be that her brain is exactly as broken as she's implying that it is, that she actually is freaking out about the possibility of Sarah McBride being in a bathroom or whatever. I'm going to extend an olive branch to Nancy Mace and say, I don't believe that she's as pathetic as she's implying she is. I think she's just as dishonest as she is being right now. She is going to do this, and you'll get into the numbers of how many times she's posted about this. She's posted more about this than I have tweeted in 6 months, because what possible ramifications will there be for her in a negative sense? Her profile is being raised every hour that she focuses on this. There are people on the right that love this, that want trans people to be demonized, not just on the extremes of the issue, but on literally anything, the smallest possible thing. And she's getting something out of this. She's getting interviews and she's getting donor money. Maybe she'll get a book deal. She'll be brought on Fox News. It's performative vice signaling with a profit motive.
It's so gross. And think about how awful this is. She's targeting a very specific person who's going to have to work alongside her in Congress. Okay, like it's just so wrong and so gross and so dehumanizing. So the resolution that Mace called for would ban members, officers, and employees of the U.S. House from using single-sex facilities other than those corresponding to their biological sex. Mace said that the resolution, which she wants incorporated into the House rules package for the next Congress, is absolutely in response to McBride's imminent arrival. And so, yeah, let me just give you how pathetic she is in like hyper focusing on this right now. So Mace has been on the warpath on this ever since Monday of this week. And according to Ron Flipkowski yesterday, Thirsty Nancy Mace has now made 83 posts in the last 22 hours. Less than a day, okay, less than a day. 83 posts about the women's bathroom in the
Taylor
Capitol.
told me it's now over 200, actually.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That is insane.
Because, so look, this is what they are. This is why I get so frustrated with the way people talk about identity politics. What is this? What is this other than a hyper focus on the specific identity of one person in place of any other work that you could be doing for constituents? She literally crafted legislation. She got together her aides in a meeting room and they sat down and hashed it out. And that's the first thing that she wants to get done. And bear in mind, it is specifically Sarah McBride that she's trying to target with this. But of course, Sarah McBride is not the only person that will be affected by it. There could be other representatives if we're lucky enough to not have her be the first and only ever. People who work in Congress, some of whom might not even be known to be trans, theoretically could be swept up in this. And of course, the right, when talking about trans people, seem to only acknowledge the existence of trans women like Sarah McBride. But of course, there are trans men as well, meaning that now with this new rule, you could have a trans man who looks utterly indistinguishable to anyone who sees him as a man, someone born as a man, who will now be forced to use women's bathrooms. Thanks to this.
I'm sorry,
that'll be fun for Nancy Mace.
That's a really good point, John. And I mean, it cuts both ways, right? Because McBride being forced to use the men's room would be strange, no? Because McBride does not present as a male. So that will be very strange. Yeah. This is an issue that Republicans were harping on in like 2016, and it like did not persuade people because people know how bathrooms work and people didn't really see this as a threat, allowing trans people to use the restrooms they identify with, which is why they kept trying to find, something associated with the transgender community that were like the edge cases that would rile people up. This isn't an edge case. This isn't like a crazy thing to be considerate about, to allow people to use the bathrooms that they identify with. And so I want to give you an update, John, because you mentioned that, the number of times that Nancy Mace has posted about this has actually increased to over 200. The exact number at this point in time, 262 times. Okay. And she's not stopping with posts on social media. She's also talking about it publicly on news shows. Let's take a look.
It's a man. She was born a man. She's a man. She's biologically a male. That is science. You guys on the left and the mainstream media want to say, follow the science. Well, let's follow the science. Okay. He is a man. He can wear a dress. He can call himself, his pronouns can be she or her, but he doesn't belong in a women's restroom, period.
Are you suggesting that the Representative-elect McBride poses some kind of danger to you and other women?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. This is an assault on women. A man being a biological man, a man with a penis, male genitalia, being in a women's locker room is an assault on women. And so the question is, do I have rights as a woman or not? And I'm not going to allow the media or Congress to strip away women's rights for 0.5% of people out there that more than likely he's got a mental illness, and this is why he's doing this. He should not be forcing his private parts into women's private spaces. I'm absolutely a no hard pass on this. I'm going to fight it every step of the way.
I just want to understand what Nancy Mace's behavior is in the women's room. Like, is she taking her shirt off and like jiggling them in front of other women's faces? Like, is that what happens in bathrooms? Like, is that what she's genuinely concerned about? That McBride is going to, be nude, walking around in the women's room? Like, by the way, I mean, what she just suggested there was that the incoming congresswoman is some sort of sexual predator. How is it okay to imply that?
And insane. I mean, personally, I would say everything I don't know Sarah McBride. I don't even really know Sarah McBride's politics, but everything I've seen of Sarah McBride seems like the most rational, level-headed, compassionate person ever. Whereas I just saw that video of Nancy Mace, and since we're going to be diagnosing people without knowing, I think she has an effing mental illness because she seems out of her goddamn mind. She seems like a raving lunatic. Honestly, I think she's a danger to women, biological or otherwise, who happen to unfortunately be stuck in a bathroom with her. And I think they should be worried. I think she should be banned. I think they should build a bathroom specifically for Nancy Mace to protect everyone else from her lunacy, but also so that she'll finally feel safe. Because even just being around people who've never hurt her in any way drives her absolutely insane.
Well, she does have some support from Marjorie Taylor Greene, because of course she does. She told NBC News that Mace's legislation, or what she's proposing with this resolution, does not go far enough. She also suggested that she'd get into a physical altercation with McBride if she uses the women's restroom. It is interesting because while discussing the alleged threat that McBride poses in the women's room, you have Marjorie Greene implying that she will carry out acts of violence against McBride, which leads me to think that maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene is more of a threat than McBride is, way more of a threat. And I want to look, I can't imagine dealing with this kind of dehumanizing garbage from people I'm going to have to deal with and work with. But to her credit, McBride has been incredible in the face of this disgusting hatred. She says everyday Americans go to work with people who have life journeys different than their own and engage with them respectfully. I hope members of Congress can muster that same kindness. She also posted this. I know it's really depressing and devastating. And by the way, I want to be clear about one other thing. Part of the reason why politicians like Nancy Mace engage in this is in order to avoid actually doing their jobs as lawmakers, as legislators, right? It's a way of getting out there, improving your name recognition, even as you're saying disgusting, dehumanizing things, right? But what is Nancy Mace doing for the people of her district? What is she doing to make their lives better? This is all about Nancy Mace. This isn't about her constituents. This isn't about doing what's right for the American people. I want to go to Sarah McBride's other statement. She posted this as well. I'm not here to fight about bathrooms. I'm here to fight for Delawareans and to bring down costs facing families. Like all members, I will follow the rules as outlined by Speaker Johnson, even if I disagree with them. This effort to distract from the real issues facing this country hasn't distracted me over the last several days, as I've remained hard at work preparing to represent the greatest state in the union come January. Serving in the 119th Congress will be the honor of a lifetime. And you guys can read the rest for yourselves. But overall, I thought that was a smart, strong statement, especially with the disgusting hatred that's directed to her. And whether they like it or not, McBride was elected and she will serve. Something that even House Speaker Johnson attested to. He first wrote this, but hold, because there's a twist. We welcome all new members with open arms who are duly elected representatives of the people. I believe it's a command. We treat all persons with dignity and respect. This is an issue that Congress has never had to address before. We're going to do that in a deliberate fashion with member consensus on it, and we will accommodate the needs of every single person. But later, it was made clear that unfortunately Johnson was going to go along with Mace's wishes. Let's go to the last graphic here. He writes, or it was reported that the speaker says all single-sex facilities in the Capitol and House office buildings, such as restrooms, changing rooms, and locker rooms, are reserved for individuals of that biological sex. It is important to note that each member office has its own private restroom, and unisex restrooms are available throughout the Capitol. Look, I want to be specific in noting that I do not have a problem at all with transgender people using the restrooms, the bathrooms that they identify with. The other single sex facilities like locker rooms, I think does get a little tricky. But with that in mind, I think Johnson caving to the wishes of Nancy Mace here was wrong, especially with Mace going on national television and engaging in all sorts of dehumanizing rhetoric about her own colleague that she's going to have to work with very, very soon. So I'm not surprised, I guess. He's a Republican at the end of the day, and he's going to carry out the wishes of Republicans within Congress or within the House. But I feel bad that McBride has to deal with this. I hope she stays strong and knows that she has plenty of people who do support her and see her humanity, even when others don't.
Yeah. My final point. So first of all, buckle up, because it's not like Nancy Mace is going to all of a sudden grow a heart tomorrow after getting what she wants. She is going to look for opportunities to continue to attack McBride and others. And Marjorie Greene, desperate to appear in the media as much as Mace, is going to be competing with her to find ways that they can attack her. And as you rightly point out, yes, it is a stand-in for them actually doing their job. They don't want to. They're both wealthy. Everybody needs to remember Marjorie Greene has like $20 million. She's an incredibly wealthy person. I mean, you hear her speak, you look at her try to write sentences, and you'd question how she'd ever get to that point, but she does have money. But it isn't just standing in for doing their jobs. They both know that the only way they can have prominent roles in the Republican Party is by backstabbing women at every opportunity and continuing to trade women's rights for access and proximity to power. And so they know that. They know deep down that they are traitors to their own gender, and that's got to deeply bother them in some way. And so they look for opportunities like this to be able to hold up a flag and be like, no, this is about women's rights. Look at me. Nancy Mace even literally said, I'm not going to let Congress take away women's rights, except for all of the other times they do, and rolling back reproductive rights and maybe getting rid of no-fault divorce and maybe getting rid of birth control and maybe a whole bunch of other things like that. She will willingly allow those rights to be taken away, and then she'll take opportunities like this to pretend that she's some sort of champion for women.
Yep. It's such a good point. That's such a good point. The taking rights away from women while posturing as protectors of women's rights is right. Like you hit the nail on the head. Such a good point.
Political pick-me BS is what it is.
If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.